I recently was listening to a podcast where an article with a so-called study was done, and they were inferring podcasters who use the term, and actually they didn't infer, this is what the study was about. People who use the term Christ is king can use it sometimes anti-Semitically. I'm like, are you kidding me? Well, we do realize by what they were posting in the article, and they said the study was done by 12 people. 11 of them were Jewish, and only one of them was a token Christian of sorts. And the conclusions were that you should only use the words Christ the King if you're using it in a praiseworthy sense, but sometimes you're just trying to insult Jews. Now, I know that they were referring to Candace Owens because she did a whole show on this saying no one's talked about Christ the King. They were referring to recent Twitter posts and things, which there was none. So they were trying to make something up that hadn't yet existed. But I'm not going to get into that. But the point of it was this. Using the terms Christ the King was now trying to be twisted by some. And other good meaning people would listen to it and go, oh, yeah, you're right. I'll be careful about how I use that. To infer that it can sometimes be bad to say Christ is king. It was ludicrous. Put all the attacks on Candace Owens aside and this fake study. Even if the study weren't fake, 12 people. Here's the problem. It is never, ever a bad thing or a sin to say Christ is king. Further, the idea of trying to construe it as anti-Semitic is a distraction from what Christ said would happen. And you all know where I'm going, is that in the end, good would be seen as evil and evil would be seen as good. And we are now seeing ourselves get into this period of history where, who knows, it'll even be considered hate speech, perhaps. We're saying Christ is king wasn't said in just the right way, so you're going to go to jail. But even if we're not yet there, it points to another sign of us entering the anti-Christic period. There is nothing ever wrong anytime, any place with saying Christ is king. And if anybody says that saying Christ the King is attacking another religion or attacking another person, we need to be aware that Satan is sleazily getting into the minds of some of the listeners of this stuff. See, when I used to hear these things, I used to be, oh, whatever, they're just making a big deal. But as I've started listening to theologians and people with opinions who expel some of this out, people who are language experts. I remember years ago, James Dobson, Dr. James Dobson, he's a Christian, he's not a Catholic, but he's very, very good, holy man. And he was talking about when hate speech laws first came into place. And I think this was about 20 years ago. And he said, what they're going to do is they're going to take Christian language and they're going to start calling that hate speech. And wasn't he right? Wasn't he right? A lot of people will see it before the rest of us do. The visionaries go, here's what's going to happen. Just like Pope, I think it was Paul VI, who wrote Humana Vitae, said that if we allow contraception, it's going to lead to greater abortions, it's going to lead to rampant sex, it's going to lead to sex outside of marriage, it's going to lead to blah, 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 fill in the blank. They all happened. He was a visionary. So when I really did start listening to these visionaries, instead of just being like, oh, it's fine, you guys are overacting, I saw how insidious Satan was. That's how he gets in. Pay attention to the language, people. Pay attention to just the gentle ways that some of these things are being twisted and ponder them. Ponder it. If you think there is ever a time that we should not say Christ is king, and let me know. Sure, if I'm attending someone's bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, and in the middle of a service, I might shout out, Christ is king. Come on, that's just rude. But if I'm having a conversation with someone, if I'm posting on my page, I can always say, even if I'm talking to my Jewish brother or sister, to my Muslim brother and sister, to a Buddhist brother or sister, to be able to say, Christ is King. It's not hate speech. Satan, every day, we're one day closer to the anti-Christic period, if we're not already in it. Keep your eyes open, understand how this game is being played, and do your part to not just be on the defensive, but to start being on the offensive and seeing how we can stand firm in our Christian and our Catholic Christian faith. We need to defend God at all costs. We need to tell everyone Christ is in fact King, because last I knew, the gospel said so. Go out and spread the gospel to all the ends of the earth. So it's part of what I'm doing here. It's part of what I think you do in your life. So the last thing I'll say before my closing is Christ is in fact King. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for listening to yet another Bacon Bit. And as always, live your life sunny side up.